Okay, let's dive right in. We're going to talk about how the world's absolute best tech companies really build products. And this isn't about just, some small tweaks here and there. We are talking about a fundamental transformation in how companies operate, how they innovate, and ultimately, how they win.
So our guide for this journey is Marty Cagan's book, Transformed, and you can see why it's praised by leaders from places like Nike and JP Morgan Chase. It's really seen as the field guide for embedding real, actual innovation right into a company's DNA.
Here's how we're going to break this all down. First, we're going to expose this thing called the feature factory trap. So many companies fall into it. Then, we'll look at the solution, the product model. We'll see the 3 big shifts it needs, we'll meet the empowered teams that make it all happen, and finally, we'll look at the keys to making this a massive, massive success.
All right. First up, let's dig into a situation that, well, a lot of us might find a little too familiar, even if we don't want to admit it. It's called the feature factory trap.
The book kicks off with a pretty chilling story. You have this successful company, they spend tens of millions of dollars on a digital transformation, and the result, after 4 years of pain and expense, they were actually slower, way more bureaucratic, and the CEO got fired. It's a story it's all too common.
And this shows the classic downward spiral. See, they started out completely focused on customers, but bit by bit they shifted to this internal focus on process and predictability. With every new layer of control they added, they just drifted further and further away from what made them great in the first place.
And this right here gets to the absolute heart of the problem. The company had become a feature factory. Its teams weren't set up to serve customers anymore. They were there to serve internal stakeholders. Their main goal was just shipping features. They were focused on output, not the outcome, not the actual value they were creating.
So, if the feature factory is the trap, how do you get out? Well, you adopt what's called the product operating model. This is the playbook the world's best companies are using to consistently build products that their customers genuinely love. Now, here's the key thing to grasp. This is not another rigid process like Agile or Scrum. Think of it as a mindset, a model built on core principles, like trusting your teams instead of controlling them, and choosing innovation over predictability. The goal is super simple. Get real results for your customers and for the business.
So how does this model actually work in practice? Well, it all rests on 3 fundamental shifts in the way a company operates. And getting these 3 shifts right, that's what changes the entire game.
These 3 shifts, they literally change everything. How you build your technology, how you go about solving problems for your customers, and maybe most importantly, how you decide which problems are even worth solving to begin with.
Think about this first shift. Think about it like this. The old project model, it's kind of like remodeling a house just to sell it. You do some quick fixes, you paint over the cracks, you fund a temporary team, they ship something, and then poof, they're gone, leaving all this tech debt behind. The product model is like remodeling the house you actually live in. You have these durable teams that own and improve the product for years.
The second shift is all about empowerment, and this is a total game changer. Instead of just handing your teams a long list of features to build, you give them customer problems to solve. And this simple change turns your teams from mercenaries, who are just there to write code, into missionaries, who are genuinely passionate about innovating to achieve a real outcome.
And this is the core job of an empowered team. They tackle these 4 big risks before a single line of production code gets written. Will customers actually value this? Can they figure out how to use it? Can our engineers actually build it? And will it work for our business? This whole process is called product discovery, and it's what stops companies from wasting millions of dollars building the wrong thing.
Okay, so who exactly is on these amazing, empowered teams? It's not just about slapping new titles on people, it's about a core group of skills working together in true collaboration.
At the very heart of each team is what's called a product triad. You've got a product manager who's accountable for the business outcome, you've got a product designer who's accountable for the customer's experience, and you have a tech lead who's accountable for the actual delivery and making sure it's feasible. Together, the 3 of them own the solution.
But, and this is a big but, for any of this to work, these teams must have direct, unencumbered access to customers, to data, and to stakeholders. No gatekeepers, no proxies,
I'm telling you, the real magic happens when an engineer gets to see a user struggle with their product firsthand.
Which brings us to the payoff. I mean, why go through all the difficulty of making this change? Well, because when a company gets this right, the results they're simply stunning.
Let's just take Adobe for a second. Before their big transformation, their Creative Suite was a $2 billion business. Pretty good, right? Well, after shifting to the product-led Creative Cloud model, their annual digital media revenue grew more than 5 times over to more than $11 billion. And that insane revenue growth, it had a seismic impact on the company's value. The transformation drove their market cap from $13 billion to this, over $250 billion. That, right there, is the power of moving from a feature factory to a true product company.
Or look at a company like Trainline. They transformed from this old legacy IT organization into a product powerhouse. They got so good at solving customer problems that one analyst literally called them the Uber of rail, and the app was dominating the UK App Store chart.
But this kind of success, it isn't just about process. It's really about leadership. The legendary coach Bill Campbell, he put it perfectly. The company cares about what the leader cares about. This transformation is a cultural one, and it absolutely has to be driven from the very, very top. So what does it take? The book lays out 10 keys to success, and as you just scan them, you'll probably notice a really powerful theme. This is not a checklist of processes. It is all about people and mindset. The role of the CEO, having strong product leaders, truly empowered engineers, and, you see it there at the bottom, corporate courage.
You know, this really all comes down to a choice. So many companies are addicted to the illusion of predictability. They're demanding to know exactly what's going to ship and when. But they're missing the trade-off. Because as this quote says, when you demand 100% predictability, you get 0% innovation. Ultimately, this transformation isn't about adopting a new process. It's about having the corporate courage to fundamentally change how you think, how you lead, and how you trust your people. So the final question isn't about process at all. It's about courage. And the real question is your company ready?